They said the horse was a killer, said her eyes held violence, that her body was a weapon waiting to break loose. They said she would end someone's life if she wasn't ended first. Ezra listened from a distance, the words passing through him like smoke through ruins. The mare stood alone in the far paddock, rain-darkened coat stretched tight over muscle and scars. Stormy, they called her, like the weather she carried inside. A red sign hung on the fence. Dangerous. Do not approach. Friday. Euthanasia. Ezra knew that word too well. It sounded like finality, like fire doors closing. He was 16 and already exhausted from surviving. The barn fire still lived in his bones. The heat, the screams of animals, his mother running back into the flames while he stood frozen. Stormy's eyes followed every movement beyond the fence, wide and watchful. Not hunting, guarding. Ezra felt it in his chest. Fear recognizes fear. The storm came the night before Friday. Thunder split the sky open, rain slamming the earth like fists. Ezra couldn't stay inside. He ran toward the paddock as lightning lit Stormy's silhouette. She didn't charge. She turned, frantic, toward a collapsed shed swallowed by weeds. Ezra pushed through mud and brambles, heart pounding. Under broken boards, something breathed. A foal. Tiny. Shaking. Alive. Stormy pressed close, her body a shield against the rain, her breath hot and desperate against Ezra's hands. "I've got him," Ezra whispered, though he wasn't sure who he was promising. When the vet arrived, soaked and stunned, the truth stood breathing between them. The mare hadn't been attacking. She had been defending life with the only language she had left. Silence fell heavy. The red sign came down. They named the foal Ember. Ezra slept in the barn, feeding him through the night, learning the rhythm of care instead of loss. Stormy watched him with softened eyes. The ranch changed its tone. The killer horse became the mother who refused to let the world take another thing from her. And Ezra, quiet, broken Ezra, began to stand a little taller. Life hadn't ended where it was supposed to. It had simply asked for mercy. Fire leaves a mark you can't scrub away. It settles into skin, into memory, into the quiet spaces where sleep used to live. Ezra arrived at the ranch hollowed out, his eyes dull like a house after the flames have passed. His mother had died running back into a burning barn, and Ezra had learned how to survive by feeling nothing at all. Stormy arrived the same week. An Appaloosa mare with a jagged burn scar carved down her side, eyes sharp with warning. She struck the walls of the trailer, screamed at shadows, lashed out at anyone who came close. They called her vicious, unstable, dangerous. They kept their distance, just like they did with Ezra. Days passed in a tense, dusty silence. Ezra watched from afar, saying nothing. He noticed how Stormy flinched at sudden sounds, how metal clanging made her rear, how she paced the fence only at night. He saw how she guarded one dark corner of the paddock like it was sacred ground. Fear, he understood. Fear doesn't always attack. Sometimes it stands watch. The storm came hard and sudden, rain hammering the earth, thunder ripping open the sky. Ezra couldn't stay inside. He followed Stormy's frantic movement, his boots sinking into mud, his heart pounding with a familiar dread. Beneath a collapsed shed, hidden from the world, he found the truth breathing softly in the dark. A foal, so small it barely seemed real. Shaking. Alive. Stormy stood over them, trembling, her body a wall against the storm. Ezra didn't reach for her. He reached for the foal. Stormy didn't strike. She watched. In that quiet, rain-soaked moment, something shifted. Monsters don't protect like this. Mothers do. They named the foal Ember. Ezra fed him through the night, his hands relearning gentleness. Stormy's rage softened into vigilance. Her ears lowered. Her breathing slowed. Safety, at last. Caring for Ember gave Ezra something the fire had stolen. Purpose. He laughed once, startled by the sound. Stormy stood nearby, calm and steady, her scar catching the morning light like a silver line of survival. Healing didn't erase what they had lost. It gave it meaning. Scars became proof, not punishment. And when Ezra chose to follow Stormy and Ember into a new life, it wasn't escape. It was home. They marked the calendar in red. Friday. An ending circled like a threat. Stormy stood in the paddock with the wind tugging at her mane, unaware the world had already decided she was done. Ezra watched from the porch, hollowed out, feeling the same sentence written across his own chest. Nothing at the ranch felt permanent. The fences leaned. The barns creaked. Even the sky looked temporary, always shifting. Ezra had learned not to unpack hope. After the fire took his mother, staying felt like waiting to lose something else. Then the storm came. Rain fell sideways, needles of cold stinging skin and earth alike. Thunder cracked, so close it rattled Ezra's bones. He ran toward the paddock without thinking, drawn by something older than fear. Stormy wasn't raging. She was standing guard, body turned into the wind, refusing to move. Ezra followed her gaze to the far corner, where broken boards and weeds hid a fragile secret. A foal, alive, shaking, breathing against all odds. Ezra dropped to his knees, shielding the tiny body with his own as Stormy closed around them, a living wall. For the first time since the fire, Ezra didn't freeze. He acted. By morning, the truth stood in the open. The mare wasn't dangerous. She was devoted. Ranch hands fell quiet. The vet's voice softened. Ember survived, and in doing so, stitched Ezra and Stormy together with something stronger than fear. Days later, a black truck rolled up the drive. Sarah Francis stepped out, grief in her eyes, recognition in her breath. She didn't reach for a lead rope. She watched the way Stormy leaned toward Ezra, the way Ember followed his shadow. "Come with us," she said. "Not as property, as family." Leaving Montana hurt. Staying would have hurt more. Ezra climbed into the truck, heart pounding, not from escape, but motion. Stormy loaded because he asked. Ember followed because trust had learned his name. At the new ranch, a quiet girl named Bella laughed for the first time when Ember stumbled toward her. Horses ran the open fields. Children stood taller. Scars showed in the sunlight, no longer hidden. They didn't run from the past. They ran toward what came next.